Well, that's good timing because I'm going to go down the stairs, and whenever I come down the stairs, it's for me to share a bit of the self-deprecating part of my ministry with you guys. So, how many of you guys, go ahead and tell me because I won't take it personally. How many of you guys have either thought or said, I wish Michael would lighten up a little bit, maybe smile a little bit more and not be so damn serious? Well, I want you to know that my beloved fiancée, Nicole, has been working very, very hard on that for you. And Nicole, can you join us down here? So we have a new addition to our beloved family. Let me introduce Emma, a good, strong religious science name. And she gets adored by our family, and actually wherever we take her, 24/7. And so, also, the men in the audience have been saying, well, Michael, when are you going to put a ring on her finger? So I have good news for you guys, and a great story. So, Nicole and I are redefining the way a couple that's in love moves from being in love to formal marriage. So as a lot of you saw the post on Facebook, Nicole and the kids proposed to me. And I gladly said yes, of course. And so now we were in Asheville, North Carolina for the Ministers Conference. And some of you remember Nicole shared with you, that was a really pretty magical and mystical experience for us. And I don't remember if it was before or after that dreaded fire walk that we did. That Nicole made great use of it in her next talk. But we decided to go shopping for her engagement ring. So we went to downtown Asheville, and Asheville is a very trendy town, very artsy, trendy town. So the first jewelry store we came to, the name of the jewelry store was Jewels That Dance. And we walked into that jewelry store, and the first ring they showed us lit up the entire space. It looked just like Nicole. When Nicole walks into her room, she lights up the entire space. And I knew in a second that was the one. It took Nicole a bit longer, I think, a few minutes, and she even had to sleep on it, I think. And I just sat there until she comes. That's what we do. I don't give her wisdom until she asks me for it. So I just sat there until she came to the proper conclusion. And to make a long story short, that's the beautiful ring on her finger now. So I promise I do have a message for you guys, though. So the message is you have the power within you. So how many of you guys would follow along with the wisdom my mom gave me when I was growing up? You can do whatever you want in life if you just put your mind to it. Any takers on that one? So I have a follow-up question for you. If you're that powerful, who is it that you think you really are? So go ahead and shout out your answers to. Who do you think you are? Love?
God in expression.
God in expression. This is an easy crowd. I got my amen corner already. Well, I have two great teachings from the teachings of Jesus that I think defines the nature of God. And if we are absolutely created in the likeness of Spirit, it defines us. The first one was Jesus by the well. He said this. He says, God is spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. And the second one he said is, God is love, and they that dwell in love dwell in God, and God in them. So maybe God is love, and I am love, and God is spirit, and I am spirit are two ways that we can create a wonderful life for ourselves. So let's say that together. I am spirit.
I am spirit.
I am love.
I am love.
One more time. I am spirit.
I am spirit.
I am love. Doesn't that seem empowering? Maybe that's the twin pillars that we can build our life upon, that can take us through anything that we need to walk through. Because the truth is that we're not these puppets that the material world can manipulate. We're not made by our surroundings. We're these wonderful, fabulous, divine, powerful creators that can create the world of our choosing. Now, the lesser self of us, the ego self, will argue with that. It will say that we are vulnerable. We are victims. It's the other people outside that are doing that to us, but that's the lesser self. The greater self gives us these two great teachings that Jesus gave us. The one is, I am spirit. And the essence of spirit, it's that within us which knows the truth. And it has no reliance whatsoever on facts in the physical world. We know the truth, and we can be set free just by this essence of spirit inside of us. And so one of the best teachings, I know I've heard several mystical teachers use it. They have a saying that says, let's go upstairs, which means they're going to shut out the world. And my belief is that as children, we're more in touch with this essence of spirit as we are now. And when I was working with this concept of let's take it upstairs, it reminded me of one of my childhood great memories. When I was about 12 years old, every summer, my mom would take us to visit my great-grandmother, who I loved dearly. She lived in an old antebellum house in Fort Gibson, Mississippi. And she had this attic up there. And attics are typically places that kids love and adults don't like very much. And this was built in, I think, 1850. So it was like that. An adult would have to turn his shoulders because the stairs were so narrow. The stairs were steep. And when you get up there was these wonderful things. My great-grandmother says, you had the easel from where my grandmother would sit and paint her portraits in the morning. She left up there. And there was these magazines, my mom would tell me it was famous historic magazines from the early 1900s called Pearson's, I think they were called. And they were famous because it talked about the rise of the industrial age and some of the negative effects it had on the poor people. I think they called it yellow journalism. But for a kid, and things that adults throw away, kids can just have fun with over and over again. But this was middle of Mississippi in the summertime in an unair-conditioned house and attic. So it was a bit precarious. So we loved it up there, but we didn't see many adults. But this essence of, we all have it, of being at a place where we're in touch with who we are. We all have it, and I think we all have it sometime in our childhood at one stage or another. So this was my beautiful experience with my great-grandmother, who I loved, and my day started. I loved her because she was a matriarch of the family, and she was an extremely, extremely wise matriarch. So I liked wisdom even back then. So I was the first one up, and I'd go, and she'd be up, and I wanted to have breakfast with her, just listen to what she had to say. She asked if I wanted cereal. I said, yeah. And she says, well, I'm really dating myself again now. She said, well, the milk delivery hasn't come yet, but I'll just pour you some goat's milk on it. And the goat's milk was from this old crusty can that she opened with the old-fashioned can opener. And that was really nasty stuff, let me tell you. But I ate every bit of that because I just loved being with her so much. So that's the essence of spirit. And that's the first part of it, because we've arrived and we can all go to the mountaintop and touch place with this essence of spirit. But now the second part comes in. This is where the love comes in. The love aspect is what lets us take this aspect of spirit and bring it forth into the world. It lets us bring it forth and be just as spiritual as we were on the mountaintop and bring it into this plane. No matter what's going on around you, no matter who's in your space, if you like them or not, you can bring this essence of love and you can stand in this essence of love. And you have to trust this essence of love. Once again, the lesser self and the ego part of you doesn't like it here, because guess what? You're extremely vulnerable. But this essence of love is where you make your stand in. It's interesting because some of the shamanic traditions view love as the glue that holds the universe together. And so they talk about when you're in this experience of love, when you're in love, what you're in is you're recognizing that oneness of you. And when you're in this space, guess what? The world is working. And we just finished the World Series, so I thought it would be a good time to share a baseball story with you that I think demonstrates this, the two things I've just talked about. So this baseball story is about this young man named Sean Butler. Sean was about 11 or 12 years old. He was in a cancer ward. The doctors were not enthusiastic. They were watching Sean deteriorate month after month after month. And they thought that he only had maybe 2 months to live. So the staff of the hospital, they knew Sean was this avid baseball fan. His favorite team was the Boston Red Sox, and his favorite player was the first baseman, Dave Stapleton. This was back in 1983. So they called up the Red Sox, and they got Dave Stapleton involved, and Dave and his wife came to spend the afternoon with little Sean. And so all they did was talk about baseball the entire afternoon. And little Sean was just doting over this. His friend had come, his idol had come and spent hour upon hour with him, talking baseball with him. So the afternoon had passed, and Dave has to leave. And as he leaves, he turns back, he says, "Sean, just for you and your honor, I'm going to get a hit at my first at-bat." And so the word got out, and there was a lot of people around the hospital watching this baseball game. And Dave goes to the baseball game. First pitch comes right by him, great fastball. Couldn't even swing at it. Second pitch, the same way. But Dave was not unsettled. The third pitch comes, and Dave takes a swing, and you heard that remarkable sound you hear in Fenway Park of the crack of a well-hit ball. And then there was that inevitable silence. And then they heard that all too great sound they love in Fenway is the thud of that well-hit ball hitting the green monster in left field. It was a triple. And you could picture the enthusiasm that little Sean had, probably jumping up on the beds, the whole hospital ward cheering. And that was a great story in and of itself. But then the doctors were befuddled again. Little Sean stopped deteriorating. In fact, little Sean made 100% recovery. And little Sean, as far as I know, it is not little anymore, but he's alive and well today. So you can ask yourself, what was that about? Well, certainly, Dave Stapleton, this famous baseball player who didn't have to do it, showed a lot of love in his heart to go do that and have the determination to get that hit for Sean. But to me, I think it's Sean. I think it's Sean took his belief at some level, maybe the elation, to know what we just said earlier, that he is spirit. He is one with God, with spirit, and all that is good, and he can have a good life, and he deserves it. And to me, that's such a wonderful example. As Ernest Holmes says, we don't know something until we can demonstrate it. Well, little Sean absolutely demonstrated it. So we can use these two teachings, that we are spirit. We can get to this essence that we are more than our bodily experience. We are more than our past beliefs. And we are love. But I think we need to do one more thing to help that, because these are great tools, but we have to sometimes get ourselves out of the way. And what gets in our way is the story that we tell ourselves. From the time we are raised, we start having these conversations. These conversations grow into dialogues. These dialogues grow into our life story. And a lot of times we tell other people, and they say, oh, that's so terrible that you have to deal with that over and over again. And my message to you is that that story is just our story. We can take that story, and instead of thinking about how bad it is, we can look at the little nuggets of wisdom. We can take the nuggets of wisdom and recreate our new story. And the stuff in the story that happened years ago that no longer serves us, we can just leave it by the wayside. And we can walk forward. Because the question you ask yourself, are you invested in that old, negative, limited story to keep you playing small? Or do you want to create a new story that allows you to play large? We have this saying, change your thinking, change your life. If you could take that story and get a large story, maybe it would change to change your thinking, change your world. So now, if you will, let's close in prayer and absolutely know that we are nothing other than the supreme power of spirit manifest in us. We are this unique and radiant and wonderful and beautiful spiritual being that is all-powerful. And we know we have the essence of love that we can use time and time again to take this knowledge of spirit, this essence of spirit, and bring it out and change the world. And we know that we no longer have to play small with our old story. We can change our story. We can play big, just like this wonderful teaching that Sean Butler showed us how to do. And for this life of spirit that I have, I claim for myself right here and right now, and I claim for each and every one of us here. I can say that this radiant life that we have as individuals and as this beloved community is beautiful, it's wonderful, it's my life, and it's your life right now. And so, if you will, anchor this with me by saying together, and so it is. Amen. Thank you.